Welcome to Formula World. I'm your host, Dylan Shelley, and here's what's on this episode. First up on Formula World, Verstappen is overrated. Max Verstappen's 2018 season has been filled with many downs, and as such, the media have been repeatedly questioning him about the reasons for his current form. Verstappen, clearly frustrated, responded in the pre-race press conference in Canada that if he is asked about his current form again, that he will headbutt someone. Former world champion Jacques Villeneuve didn't like the way Max handled himself and began a rant about how bad he looks as a driver. The journalist's role is to report facts, even if Verstappen answered the question 100 times. The responsibility of the driver is to answer if the question is justified. But Verstappen had no right to take offence and react that way. You need to be aware of your mistakes in order to progress, and he has not done that. Instead, he showed a lack of respect and education. In some ways, he is still a child. He was dragged out of the cradle and put into a car. That's probably why he is not at Ricciardo's level and even looks bad. If Red Bull considers him to be the future, he must beat his teammate. In the meantime, the opposite is true. He is overrated. Ricciardo blackmailed Red Bull. Neither Lewis Hamilton nor Daniel Ricciardo have signed a contract for next season, and recently, Mercedes non-executive chairman Niki Lauda and Red Bull advisor Helmut Marko were sat down together and began discussing the situation. Lauda is convinced Hamilton will stay with Mercedes and that the contract is all but signed. Lewis will sign. We only discuss details, not the money. It's about promotion performances. Lewis stays safely with us. That will be solved. In response to those comments, Helmut Marko made some comments about their situation with Ricciardo. I hope that finally gets signed, because Ricciardo says that as long as Hamilton is not yet contracted to Mercedes, he also does not want to sign. It's a bit strange. And it didn't take long for Lauda, in his usual fashion, to respond saying that Red Bull are being blackmailed by Ricciardo and suggested that Mercedes aren't interested in the Aussie driver. Ricciardo has blackmailed you with Hamilton, who has not yet signed. What Hamilton gets, he cannot get anyway, so we have not made him an offer. Ricciardo relishes little win. The 2018 championship is a close battle with multiple drivers potentially in the mix. While Daniel Ricciardo is aware he is a long shot for the title, he also appreciates the small victories he can take along the way, as he expressed about beating Hamilton at the Canadian Grand Prix. I don't know if Lewis had issues this weekend, but this is normally a really strong track for him. It's normally a strong Mercedes track. So for us to take a few points away, I think it's a little win and gives us a lot of encouragement coming in for the next few races. F1 wants 2 races in the US and China. With 21 races on the current F1 calendar, it equals the most events there has ever been, but it's the plan of the F1's new owners, Liberty Media, to expand even more. F1 CEO Chase Carey wants to expand to destination cities around the world, but also mentioned that he wants to host multiple Grand Prix in larger countries such as the US and China. Right now, we're hoping to have a second Grand Prix in the US. I think in countries of that size and scale, it's important. Our focus is that we want to make sure that the events we have, we want to make as strong as they can be, so it is quality over quantity. China and the US are the 2 biggest economies in the world, and they're 2 places where we've just scratched the surface of the potential of the sport. Mercedes to suffer consequences. Mercedes went into Canada as favourites after dominating at the circuit for the past several years, but they left very much on the back foot as they failed to qualify on pole and finished 2nd and 5th place in the race. Mercedes boss Toto Wolff has come out saying that the team needs to fix their issues going forward. We came to Montreal thinking our car would be strong. Now we are going home with the realisation that Ferrari had the better car in qualifying and the race. We need to wake up now. Consequences are necessary, but they are discussed internally. Mercedes non-executive chairman Niki Lauda was also upfront about their comparative decline in performance. Ferrari had the better car, the better engine, and the better fuel consumption. They overtook us in the areas where we were ahead. Now something has to happen in every area. We were number 1 in fuel consumption, and now Ferrari and Renault can do better than us. Alonso, I have many more years. There is growing speculation over Fernando Alonso's future in F1 as poor results and an underperforming car continue to keep him down. But the two-time world champion knows that while his recent years haven't seen his best results, F1 is still the pinnacle of motorsport. It's obviously the top series in motorsport. It's where we all dream to come one day when we are go-kart drivers. But it's true that in the last years, especially in the turbo era, things are predictable. This is very sad for the sport. It's nothing against Formula 1. It's not that I get tired of F1. It's just I know that I will come here and I will fight from 7th to 12th, and I will finish the season in Abu Dhabi fighting from 7th to 12th. Despite his somber words, Alonso made it clear that he is with McLaren for the long haul. I already signed with McLaren last year. It is a multi-year contract. I have many more years here. Fast feed. Claire Williams says Stroll has lived up to expectations and doesn't see the team parting with him. Head of Red Bull driver development Helmut Marko says it's realistic for MotoGP rider Marc Marquez to make the switch to F1. 3 F1 drivers make it to the Forbes top 100 highest paid athletes list, with Lewis Hamilton taking out 12th place, Vettel 18th and Alonso 39th. Renault boss Cyril Abiteboul says that McLaren driver Stoffel Vandoorne is someone they are looking at with interest for the future. Toto Wolff insists that Mercedes will remain in F1 and says that Formula 1 is part of our core business. And Kimi Raikkonen likened the Canadian Grand Prix to Monaco, saying the race was boring and not much happened. Formula World fans react, 2018 Drivers' Championship. On the previous episode of Formula World, I asked you who you think will win the 2018 Drivers' Championship, and the results are in. It's a close one, with 43% of you thinking Sebastian Vettel will take out the title, but only by a margin of 2% to Lewis Hamilton on 41%. 14% of you do think Daniel Ricciardo will clinch the title, and 2% of you voted for other drivers. Is Verstappen overrated? Be sure to vote in the poll in the top right hand corner of this video, and leave a comment. And if you like this video, feel free to subscribe and check out my other videos for all the latest in the world of Formula 1.